Hello everybody, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. So as to celebrate today's program start, which is the 8-week glute growth case study, and if you don't know, go on my Instagram, you'll know all about it. But basically I have launched a new program for the girls today of the 8-week glute growth case study essentially. And what it is I'm taking on clients one-to-one with myself in order to help them grow their glutes and teach them everything they need to know. So all the fundamentals, all the foundations, all the processes that actually need to be taken in order to see glute growth, because I see so many mistakes of girls doing out there that they're not eating enough, they're not training, they're not progressing, they're just doing glute activation movements instead of actual progressive movements and complaining that their glutes aren't growing. It's just because they don't know how to grow them. So this 8-week is like, okay, let's do a glute transformation for yourself. Let's teach you how to do it properly. Make sure you're fueling, and also along the 8 weeks they get the opportunity to learn obviously how to grow their glutes moving forward and understand the fundamentals and the foundations of it. So if it is something you're interested in, it's not too late. Okay, this YouTube is coming out on the launch date, but I will do an extension going into next Monday as well. So if it is something you're interested in, go over on my Instagram, drop me a DM saying glutes, and I will pop you over all the details. But in general, if you want a shorter term program, like an 8-week program, this is the only chance you can get one, because I don't run short-term programs. All my programs are approximately 6 months on average. Okay, so if you are looking something of a bit more of a kickstart where you actually gain all the education, all the support, all the accountability that you need in one, this is your opportunity. But anyways, for all of you listening and struggling to grow your glutes, let's be honest, you've been doing the RDLs, you've been doing the hip thrusts, you've been doing the glute kickbacks, and for some reason absolutely nothing is changing. And you're potentially questioning, am I just quad dominant? Am I not ever going to grow my glutes? Is it genetics? What could it be going on? But a lot of the time, like I said, it's maybe just not having the education and the knowledge behind you of how the glute growth process actually works, because it's not just as simple as doing 100 squats a day and eating in a calorie deficit. Trust me, I can vouch for that because I've done it before. So yeah, you're more than likely not feeling because, you know, your glutes just can't be activated or they just won't grow. You're probably just struggling to see that growth because you don't know the actual rules that come with glute growth. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 main pillars of glute growth, which is training, nutrition, and recovery. All equally as important, and one cannot go without the other. Okay, if one's being off, your glutes aren't going to grow. If the other one is being focused on more than, for example, training more than nutrition, your glutes are not going to grow. If you're overtraining and not recovering, your glutes aren't going to grow. So we're going to break down the 3 pillars. So the first pillar being training. Okay, doing glute exercises doesn't mean that you're going to get glutes, okay? And a lot of the time, these exercises are actually just lower body movements that you're not progressing in and that you're just chasing the burn in. So if you're somebody that feels like they need to feel the burn in an exercise that they're doing, otherwise their glutes aren't going to grow, you're wrong. You do not need to feel the burn all the time. The only time you should feel the burn is either at the start of your session where you're implementing glute activation, which would be the likes of glute kickbacks, hip abduction, you know, duck walks, all of that. None of those exercises cause glute growth, but what it does cause is for your muscle to wake up, which is necessary in order for you to have that mind to muscle connection, and it will just help you sort of progress in your session moving forward with the right mindset and making sure that you can actually engage your glutes. The second thing with training is if you're going in doing the same weight, the same reps, the same sets, resting the same, and not actually doing anything different with your workouts, or even worse, if you're going in and doing a different workout every single time, your glutes are not going to grow, okay? What you need to do is progressive overload. So what that looks like, it doesn't always mean you have to lift more and more and more. Sometimes it looks like, you know, yes, increasing the weight is obviously one of them, maybe doing a couple of extra reps, maybe taking a little bit less rest, maybe adding an extra set on top of the current sets that you're doing, and repeating the same movements on repeat. Going into every single session, doing the same session week in and week out is the only way you're going to get stronger. When you get stronger, your muscle has the opportunity to grow, right? Because your muscle is super, super smart. So whenever you're doing random things, or you're just going in and putting in the same effort, same weight, same sets every single week, your body, your muscles adapt to that, and your muscle's super, super smart. So once it gets comfortable with that, why would it be pushing itself? Why would it be trying to grow when you're not doing anything to let it grow, right? So you need to make sure that you are progressive overloading. So have a plan going in to start with. Make sure your workouts are structured. Make sure you're doing the same workouts every single week, and make sure that you are progressing in those workouts in at least one of these aspects: sets, reps, weight, or rest. rest. Structure is going to be your best friend here, okay? Stop going in and doing random workouts or workouts you see on TikTok or whatever else and just picking from one influencer to another. That's not going to work. It's not going to grow your glutes. Even though they might be sore, you might feel the burn, it's not going to grow them. And pillar number 2 is nutrition. And this is where most women self-sabotage, okay? And what I mean by this is we all want a little waist and big glutes. And to get a little waist, most of us have to be in a deficit, right? So too many girls are trying to drop body fat and build their glutes at the same time. The two things do not go hand in hand, okay? Yes, you can do it in around maintenance level if you already have a decent amount of muscle mass on you and a little amount of body fat on you, okay? You can keep your waist nice and slim, keep yourself nice and tight and build your glutes from there. But you have to come out of that calorie deficit. And this is where most women self-sabotage because they're so scared to eat more in order to see that progress because they think they're just gonna gain weight. It doesn't work like that. As long as you have your calories controlled, as long as you're prioritizing protein for recovery, and as long as you're eating well and not getting your calories from junk food and you're not jumping from 1,500 calories to 2,500 calories where you're creating a massive gap, you will not gain body fat because everything you're eating, you are training for, right? So that energy is going to go straight to your muscles, going to give you better sessions, you're going to get stronger, you're going to be able to progress in them better, which is going to result in muscle growth. So come out of that deficit. Stop fearing carbs. Carbs are your best friend. If you want nice glutes, you need to eat a lot of carbs, okay? That's the number one thing to remember because carbs are our body's preferred source of energy, especially when it comes to your workouts. So essentially for muscle to grow, it needs enough calories, it needs enough protein, and it needs consistency. So sticking to that for a prolonged period of time. You need to get over the calorie deficit and come out of it properly because dropping body fat and dropping a large amount of weight and building glutes, you cannot do those things together optimally. Like I said, you can do them over time, but if you actually want to see proper growth, you're just wasting your time because you're going to get impatient and you're going to lose your motivation because you're not going to see those changes happening as quickly as you want to. And pillar number 3 is recovery. You grow muscle during rest, not during your workout. And I know this might sound contradictory or whatever the case might be, and a lot of people think otherwise, but that is how it works, okay? When you're in the gym, you have your muscle fibers, right? And when you train, those muscle fibers tear. So this is your muscle fibers. Whenever they tear, they need to come back together. And when they come together, there's a little bit of a bigger gap, which makes the muscle bigger. Let's pretend this is your glute. So in order for it to come together, you need to rest, you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to take a couple of rest days in between your training sessions for the muscle to actually have the opportunity to come back together and rejoin. If you're constantly overtraining that muscle, so there you go, your muscle fibers are torn. As you're training consistently, they just keep getting torn. And any opportunity they have for coming together, you're training again, they just get torn again. So they don't actually recover, hence why you're not seeing growth, hence why you're not able to progress in your movements because your body is tired. So training your glutes 5-6 days a week in the gym and not doing anything else, not sleeping enough, not eating enough is not going to grow your glutes. It's just going to burn you out. You're going to hate the process and you're not going to have bigger glutes. But yeah, to summarize, that's the 3 main pillars for glute growth. And the best bit of advice that I can give you is come out of the deficit, track your lifts in the gym, go in and do the exact same program week in and week out until you are bored out of your mind doing it. But I promise you'll be bored out of your mind with a dump truck, okay? That's how it works. You have to keep repeating the same movements, the same patterns in order to get better at anything. And you have to eat in order for that muscle to grow. Most important thing. Then of course, recovery is another aspect. So make sure you're leaving at least 48 to 72 hours in between your glute training sessions to get the most efficient growth in there. And as I mentioned before, you do have the opportunity to join us and work directly one-to-one with myself, not my team. It'll be directly with myself on the 8-week glute growth case study. And the reason this case study came about is because I actually done my own transformation and I sort of set myself an 8-week challenge, done a case study on myself of I got surgery over the summer, I lost my glutes altogether, how can I get them back and can I do this by proactively implementing all these pillars and these tools? And I've got my own transformation and now we're going to keep pushing on that, but the fundamentals, the foundations were all built. And this is what the 8-week glute growth case study is all about. So if you want to stop doing random workouts, actually see the results that you want to see, learn how you got those results and understand everything that comes with glute growth, understanding those pillars in as much detail as possible, how much calories you need to eat, what training you should be doing and what needs to be personalized to you personally to see that transformation for yourself, And then, like I said, either send me a DM on Instagram saying glutes and I'll send you all the details, or you can click the link below that will be in the caption and just apply for a coaching and we can discuss it on a call in a little bit more detail. But either way, 2026, nobody's having a flat ass. That's all I'm saying, okay? We're all growing our glutes. But besides that, thank you for joining me for this video. I hope everybody's glutes grows in 2026. That's the affirmation I'm setting out for all of you, and I will catch up with you all soon. Bye.